I still remember that evening, like it just happened yesterday. The table was set, candles flickering softly, and the smell of roasted chicken filled the whole dining room. My daughter Emily and her husband Mark were talking about some real estate nonsense, and I was just smiling, nodding along, trying to ignore how cold the air felt between us. Then there was my granddaughter, Lily, 15, quiet but sharp as a tack. She sat right across from me, her little hands fidgeting under the table. I didn't think much of it, not until she suddenly slid a folded napkin toward my plate. At first, I thought she was passing me a note for fun, like we used to when she was a kid. But when I unfolded it, my heart nearly stopped. The note said, "Grandma, pretend you're sick. Get out of here. Now." My eyes darted up at her. She didn't say a word, just gave me this tiny, terrified nod. Something in that look made my stomach twist. I didn't understand what was going on, but I trusted that child more than anyone in that room. So I took a slow breath, placed my hand on my chest, and whispered, "Oh dear, I don't feel so good." Mark stood up immediately, pretending to care. Too quickly, almost rehearsed. Emily frowned like I was ruining her dinner party. And Lily, she just stared at me, her face pale as snow. "I think I should lie down," I muttered, standing shakily. Mark offered to help, but Lily jumped in first. "No, Dad, I'll take Grandma. She just needs some air." Her voice cracked, but she forced a smile. The two of us walked toward the hallway, and as soon as we were out of sight, Lily whispered, trembling, "Grandma, we need to go, right now." My heart pounded in my ears. Something was terribly wrong. I froze for a second, staring at Lily like she'd just told me the house was on fire. "What are you talking about, sweetheart?" I whispered. My voice shook, half from fear, half from disbelief. Lily grabbed my hand, her small fingers ice cold. "Grandma, please, just trust me. Mom and Dad aren't who you think they are." I felt my throat tighten. "What do you mean?" She looked around, making sure no one was watching. "They've been fighting all week about you. I heard them last night. They said they're gonna send you to that nursing home out on Maple Road. But that's not all." My knees almost gave out. "That's nonsense. Your mother, she'd never." I froze for a second, staring at Lily like she just told me the house was on fire. "What are you talking about, sweetheart?" I whispered. My voice shook, half from fear, half from disbelief. Lily grabbed my hand, her small fingers ice cold. "Grandma, please, just trust me. Mom and Dad aren't who you think they are." I felt my throat tighten. "What do you mean?" She looked around, making sure no one was watching. "They've been fighting all." "Grandma," Lily cut me off, her voice cracking. "They said you've got money hidden somewhere. Mom said she'll take it as soon as you're gone." The hallway lights flickered for a moment, and I swear I could hear my own heartbeat. My Emily, my only child, planning to throw me away like old furniture. Lily looked up at me with tears pooling in her eye. "About you. I heard them last night. They said they're going to send you to that nursing home out on Maple Road. But that's not all." My knees almost gave out. "That's nonsense. Your mother, no." We sat in the car, breathing hard, the cold air fogging up the windshield. I could still hear the faint sound of laughter coming from the house. like nothing had happened. But my world had just turned upside down. I turned to Lily, trying to steady my voice. "What is it, honey? What did you find out?" Her hands were shaking as she pulled a folded paper from her pocket. "I found this in Mom's office drawer," she whispered. "She was talking to a lawyer, Grandma, about your will." I frowned, taking the paper. It was an email printout, my name right there in bold. "Once her assets are transferred, we'll proceed with the nursing home arrangements." I felt my chest tighten, like the room was closing in. My daughter, my flesh and blood, planning to lock me away for money I never even told her existed. Tears welled in my eyes, but I wiped them fast. "I thought she loved me," I murmured. Willie squeezed my hand. "I know, Grandma, but you can't go back there. They're not safe." For a moment, we just sat in silence, two souls trying to make sense of something broken. Then, out of nowhere, Lily's phone buzzed. It was a text from Emily. "Where are you? Bring her back right now." Lily looked at me panicked. "They know we're gone." I swallowed hard. "Drive, sweetheart. Just drive." She turned the keys, and the engine coughed to life. The tires crunched over the gravel as we pulled away from the only home I'd known for 30 years. But as we turned the corner, I caught a glimpse of Mark standing at the window, phone in hand, staring straight at us. And in that second, I realized this wasn't just about money anymore. He was watching us, waiting. We didn't stop driving until the streetlights disappeared behind us. The highway was quiet, just the hum of the tires and the trembling in Lily's hands as she gripped the steering wheel. "Sweetheart," I said softly, "where are we going?" "To Aunt Maggie's," she whispered. "She'll help us. She always liked you more than Mom." I almost smiled at that. Maggie, my late husband's sister, lived 2 towns over, a tough old woman with a kind heart. If anyone could help us figure this out, it was her. But as the miles rolled by, I couldn't shake the image of Mark's eyes at the window. Cold, calculated, like he already knew where we were headed. Pause. By the time we reached Maggie's place, the sky was spilling dawn colors, soft pink and gray. We pulled into the long gravel driveway, and Maggie stepped out onto the porch in her robe, holding a cup of coffee. "Good Lord, Helen," she said when she saw me. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Feels like I have," I muttered, stepping out of the car. Inside, over strong coffee and the smell of pancakes, Lily told her everything. The note, the plan, the email. Maggie listened without interrupting, her face growing harder by the minute. Finally, she said, "You need to tell her the rest, Lily." I looked at them both, confused. "The rest?" Lily hesitated. "Grandma, there's something I didn't tell you. Mom and Dad found the letter Grandpa wrote before he passed, the one where he said you inherited the lake house and all the money." I blinked, speechless, but that letter was locked in my safe. Lily's eyes filled with guilt. "They broke into it, Grandma." The room went quiet. My stomach dropped. My daughter had not only betrayed me, she'd stolen my husband's final words to me. And before I could say another word, The phone on Maggie's counter started ringing. Unknown number. Maggie picked it up, listened, then her face went pale. "Helen," she whispered, "they know you're here." Maggie's words hit me like a punch. "They know we're here?" I repeated, my voice trembling. She nodded slowly, setting the phone down. "That was Sheriff Collins. Said your daughter, Emily, just called in a missing persons report. For you. Said she's worried you're having one of your episodes." "Episodes?" I scoffed. "What the hell is she talking about?" Lily grabbed my hand. "She's lying, Grandma. She's trying to make them think you're losing your mind," Maggie finished grimly. Classic move when someone's trying to take. Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Grandma, they said you were getting too old to handle things. They were planning to move you into some home and sell the lake house." That was it. Everything snapped into focus. The fake smiles, the sudden kindness, the way Mark kept asking about my medication, about the will, about the lake house. And that note, that beautiful, life-saving note, was Lily's way of fighting back. Before we could think what to do next, Maggie's dog started barking like crazy, deep, furious growls. Then headlights cut across the front yard. Lily's face drained of color. "It's them." Maggie moved quick. "Go! Back door, now!" But before we even reached it, we heard the crunch of boots on gravel and Mark's voice, calm, steady, terrifying. "Helen, Lily, come on out. We just want to talk." Maggie motioned for silence, but then, bang! The sound of the screen door slamming open echoed through the house. "Grandma," Lily whispered, clinging to my arm. And right then I realized this wasn't just about money anymore. It was about... The door burst open with a force that shook the floorboards. Mark stepped inside first, his smile too calm, too polite for a man who'd just broken in. Behind him was Emily, her face pale and eyes wild, like she'd lost control of everything around her. "Mom," she said softly, "please, you're sick. Let us help you." "Help me?" I snapped, my voice trembling with anger and fear. "By locking me away and stealing my home?" Mark raised his hands like some cheap actor playing innocent. Now, Lily stepped forward, her voice shaking but firm. "She's not delusional. I saw you, Mark. You switched her glass." That stopped him cold. The mask cracked, just for a heartbeat, and underneath it, I saw something dark, something evil. Maggie moved quietly toward the phone, trying to call 911, but Mark spotted her. "Don't!" he barked, pulling something from his pocket. A small pistol, black and deadly. "Mark!" Emily gasped. "What the hell are you doing?" "Shut up!" he snapped. "You ruined everything when you called the cops. You think I'm going to let that old woman take everything from us?" My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear. He pointed the gun at me. "Where's the money, Helen? The account your husband left you. Tell me, and maybe..." A loud crash cut him off. Maggie's dog Bear lunged from the hallway, teeth bared, slamming into Mark's arm. The gun fired once, twice, the sound deafening inside the small cabin. Lily screamed. Maggie dove for the floor, and I grabbed Lily, pulling her behind the kitchen counter. The smell of gunpowder filled the air, sharp and metallic. Then silence. Just heavy breathing, footsteps, and the soft whimper of the dog. When I peeked up, Mark was on the floor, the gun kicked far away, and Maggie stood over him with her shotgun raised. "Move," she said coldly, "and I'll make sure you never move again." The police sirens echoed in the distance, and for the first time that night, I let myself breathe. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over, because people like Mark, they don't give up that easy. The red and blue lights painted the walls like some nightmare carnival. Officers swarmed the house, stepping over shattered glass and overturned chairs. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands still trembling, the metallic taste of fear lingering in my mouth. Mark was on the floor, cuffed and bleeding from his arm, still muttering about "what's mine." Emily stood frozen by the door, mascara running down her cheeks, her hands shaking. Lily sat beside me, clutching my sleeve, refusing to let go. One of the officers knelt beside me. "Ma'am, you're safe now. We've got him." Safe. That word felt foreign. Because when someone you love tries to kill you for money, safe doesn't come easy. Maggie leaned against the counter, shotgun still in hand. "You need to get checked, Helen," she said softly. Her voice was rough, but kind. "Shock'll mess you up if you don't rest." "I'll be fine," I whispered, though even I didn't believe it. Lily looked up at me, eyes glassy with tears. "Grandma, why would Uncle Mark do that?" "Oh, sweetheart, how do you explain greed to a child? How do you tell her that sometimes the people who smile the most are the ones who want to see you fall?" Before I could answer, one of the detectives called me over. "Mrs. Hale, we found this in his car," he said, handing me a folder. Inside were documents, forged signatures, bank transfers, fake medical reports, proof that Mark and Emily had been planning this for months. They'd even written letters to the court, claiming I was unfit to manage my affairs. They wanted the house, the savings, everything my late husband and I had worked for. Tears blurred my vision. All this time, I'd blamed myself for being distant after my husband's death. But the truth? They never wanted love, just control. Mark was dragged out in handcuffs, screaming that I'd stolen his life. Emily followed silently, her head bowed. And for a moment, despite everything, I pitied her. Because she'd chosen the wrong side. When the last cruiser left, the house fell quiet again. Lily wrapped her arms around me, whispering, "I'm glad you trusted me, Grandma." And I held her close, breathing in her warmth, whispering back, "You saved me, baby. You really did." I thought that was the end of it. But I was wrong, because what came next would uncover something even darker, something buried long before that dinner. The next few days passed in a blur. Police reports, statements, hospital visits. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mark's face, twisted with rage. Lily stayed by my side, her small hand always clutching mine. And every time I looked at her, I thanked God I'd listened to her note that night. Those few scribbled words had saved my life. A week later, Detective Morris came to see me again. He was a tall, tired-looking man, the kind who'd seen too much evil and stopped pretending to be shocked by it. "Mrs. Hale," he said, sitting down at my kitchen table, the same one where it all happened. "There's something you need to know." My stomach twisted. "What is it now?" He pulled out a thin folder and opened it slowly. "When we dug into Mark's finances, we found something strange. A series of payments made to a woman named Lucinda Hale, about a year before your husband passed." I blinked. "Lucinda? That was my husband's first wife. She died decades ago." "Exactly," Morris said. "Except the money was being wired to an account under her name, an account Mark opened." I stared at him, heart pounding. "You're saying that your stepson was embezzling from your husband's estate long before he passed. Your husband suspected it. That's why he quietly changed his will." The room spun. Suddenly, so many things made sense. Why my husband had been so distant toward the end. Why Mark's resentment had grown so sharp after the funeral. "He thought I stole what was his," I whispered. Detective Morris nodded slowly. "He didn't just think it. He convinced himself it was true, that you ruined his life." I felt a cold shiver run through me. All that hatred, all that rage, had been building for years, long before that dinner. As the detective stood to leave, he turned back and said something that stuck with me. "You got lucky, Mrs. Hale. Most people in your position don't get a second chance. You might want to think about what you want to do with yours." That night, as Lily slept, I sat on the porch with a blanket around my shoulders. The house was quiet again, but it didn't feel empty. It felt alive, breathing, watching, remembering. I took out Lily's note from my pocket, now creased and faded, and traced the words with my thumb. "Pretend you're sick and get out of here." Those words had saved me once. But what I didn't know then was that they'd also saved something bigger. My faith in family, in instincts, in love that doesn't ask for anything in return. I thought that was the end of the story. But 2 weeks later, I got a letter that made my blood run cold. A letter postmarked from the prison. It was from Mark. I stared at the envelope for hours before opening it. It sat there on my kitchen table, thin, yellow, almost innocent, but I could feel the poison inside it. Lily kept asking, "Grandma, are you sure you want to read it?" I wasn't sure of anything. But after everything we'd been through, I couldn't walk away without knowing why. With trembling fingers, I tore it open. The handwriting was neat, deliberate, cold. "Helen, I know you probably think you've won, but you don't know everything. Dad wasn't the man you believed he was." My breath caught. "You see, before he died, he changed his will. Yes, but not because he loved you. He did it because he was scared. He found out what I knew. I knew about his affair with your sister, the same woman who moved away years ago." The room tilted. My vision blurred. No, that couldn't be true. He left everything to you out of guilt. And you, sweet, naive Helen, you thought it was love. I wasn't trying to steal your fortune. I was taking back what should have been mine from the start. By the time I finished reading, My hands were shaking so hard, I almost dropped the paper. Mark wasn't just twisted. He was broken, driven by years of bitterness, lies, and half-truths. But one sentence near the end made me stop cold. "Don't worry, Mom. You'll see me again sooner than you think." I folded the letter slowly, my heart pounding. There was no return address, just that promise. For weeks after, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me jump. Every shadow looked like him. But one night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she looked up at me and said softly, "Grandma, maybe he's not coming back. Maybe he's just trying to keep you scared." I smiled weakly, brushing her hair back. "Maybe, sweetheart. But fear only wins if we let it." I walked out onto the porch, clutching that letter, and for the first time, I didn't feel weak. I felt strong, the kind of strength that only comes from surviving hell and walking out alive. I looked up at the stars, whispering, "You tried to break me, Mark, but you just made me unbreakable." And that was it. The end of one story, but maybe the beginning of another. Because some ghosts never really leave. They just wait in silence for the next chapter to begin.